Good evening, and first of all, I want to thank the Arab Organization for Human Rights to have me, and it's a privilege to be among such distinguished speakers. I can only echo what has been just said, and it would be hard to add more. And also, I agree with every single letter that was just pronounced by the previous speakers. But just to add a couple comments. First of all, when the war in Gaza started, or over the past 7 years of occupation, there's one thing that we usually complain about, and that is the mainstream Western media's handling this issue in the occupied territories. But now that there is alternative voices that are covering the occupation, the oppression, and the genocide taking place in Gaza and other violence in the occupied territories, an entity, an establishment that is supposedly representing the Palestinians is silencing the alternative voice, the alternative media coverage, the alternative narrative that has been shared with the rest of the world. I think this is a huge problem, huge block for the Palestinian struggle itself. Secondly, I think if we're talking about legitimacy of the PA, first of all, I think there is a huge crisis of legitimacy, and this crisis is not something new. It is something that has been going on for many years before even the Gaza war or the Gaza genocide started. In the eyes of Palestinians and in the eyes of, I think, those who follow the Palestinian struggle for many decades. But secondly, this crisis of legitimacy is also legitimizing, in a way, what Israel is doing at the moment. How are they not adding to what Israel is, what Israel calls a legitimate war or a legitimate action against the Palestinians? How is this the difference? When Israel is raiding West Bank, and at the same time PA is raiding Palestinians, when Israel said they will deprive the Gazans of electricity and water and all the basic needs, but at the same time we see that the PA is doing the same thing in Jenin. When Israel is attacking and killing journalists who are covering the truth and what is happening in Gaza and elsewhere in the occupied territories, we're criticizing that and we are condemning that and we are calling that out. But the PA is doing the same thing. So the big question for me is, what is the legitimacy of the PA if they are doing the same thing as the Israelis? How are they able to recover that damage? How will they ever be able to recover that damage that they have done to the legitimacy of an establishment that is supposedly representing the Palestinian struggle in the occupied territories? So I think there is a huge dent that this is making in the press freedom, and when it comes to the covering the truth on the occupied territories. There is a huge blow to legitimacy of Palestinians in the West Bank that are run by the PA. This is a crisis of legitimacy, but it doesn't stop there. It's also adding to the attempt to legitimize the occupation, the genocide taking place elsewhere in the occupied territories. I don't want to talk about how inhumane some of the raids and depriving them of basic needs, as the previous speakers have said, or talk about how the occupation and the colonial settler approach to this issue needs to be handled. But I think there's two questions for me just to end. One is that the alternative voices, be it the Al-Jazeera, TRTs, or other individual journalists doing their own work, that the international community and those who care about the Palestinian struggle must support these voices and this alternative narration. At the same time, I think it is time for unity, or for that leadership that Jim spoke earlier when it comes to Palestinian unity, and who will be leading this? Because clearly it is not PA, and that legitimacy is not there. Thank you.